back, everyone, to another episode of Rise Thrive's The Beat Podcast, where we dig deep into what it takes to elevate our lives and truly thrive. Today's episode is something special, and I couldn't be more excited to share it with you all. We're diving into a topic that feels especially relevant, whether you're just starting on your journey or have been pushing forward and are looking for that extra spark to keep going. Now, when we talk about rising above life's challenges, thriving despite setbacks, and making the most out of every single day, there's one name that always comes up in the personal development world: Jim Rohn. And today we're honored to have him here with us. Jim's wisdom has shaped the lives of millions. He's been a mentor to legendary figures from Tony Robbins to Les Brown, and countless people around the world credit his teachings for helping them find clarity, direction, and purpose. He's known for his timeless principles that blend practicality with profound insights, and today we're going to dive into some of those principles and find out how they apply in our fast-paced, ever-changing world. In this episode, we'll explore the core concepts of what it means to rise and thrive. We'll be talking about how to rise above our circumstances, the importance of self-discipline, the power of setting goals, and most importantly, the mindset it takes to truly thrive, not just in our careers, but in every aspect of life. Whether you're looking to overcome personal challenges, reach new heights professionally, or simply want to find more purpose and joy in each day, Jim's insights are going to be invaluable. So without further ado, Jim, welcome. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Matt. It's truly a pleasure to be here. I'm honored by the introduction, and I'm excited to dive into this conversation with you today. You know, the idea of rise and thrive, it's so powerful. And I think it's something we all strive for in one way or another. But here's the thing, rising above your circumstances, thriving despite the odds. It isn't just a matter of luck or talent. It's about choices, about the habits we cultivate, and the decisions we make every single day. You see, life is a process, a journey. And throughout that journey, we're presented with opportunities to rise. Whether it's overcoming an obstacle, learning from a failure, or simply waking up each day with a renewed sense of purpose, every moment offers us the chance to become a little better, a little stronger, a little closer to our potential. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of the lessons that have been most impactful in my life, and that I hope will help each listener rise to their own occasion and thrive in whatever way is most meaningful to them.
That's powerful, Jim. Thank you. I know our listeners are going to gain so much from this conversation. All right, let's dive right in and start breaking down what it really means to rise and thrive. So Jim, let's start with the basics. In your opinion, what is the foundation of rising above any challenge? All right, Jim, let's jump right into it. So when we talk about this idea of rising, a lot of people think it just means pushing through hard times or surviving challenges. But I think from what I've heard in your teachings that there's so much more to it than just getting by. So let's start with your story, Jim. Can you tell us about your early struggles? Maybe a few experiences that shaped you and taught you how to truly rise, and not just to survive, but to become stronger, better, and more capable as a result.
Absolutely, Matt. You know, it's funny when I look back. Those early years seem so far away, but at the same time, the lessons are just as fresh as they were back then. I grew up in a small town in Idaho, a place where most people's ambitions didn't stretch much further than the next paycheck or getting through the next harvest season. I was a farm boy raised in a hardworking family, and though we didn't have much, my parents always taught me the value of integrity, of showing up, and of giving your best in everything you do. But here's the thing, even with those values, I still found myself struggling, lost even. I was in my early 20s, and I thought I had it all figured out. I worked hard, but somehow I just wasn't getting anywhere. I was in debt, making a meager salary, and it felt like life was always just one step ahead of me. I remember one winter, I was 25, married with a baby on the way, and I had less than $100 to my name. I felt like a failure, and I wondered if that was all life had for me.
Wow, Jim, I think so many people can relate to that feeling. You're working hard, putting in the hours, and yet you feel stuck, almost like you're spinning your wheels and going nowhere. But something must have shifted for you. What changed that helped you rise above that point?
Great question, Matt. You're absolutely right. I was spinning my wheels, but it wasn't for lack of effort. I was doing everything I knew to do, and I think a lot of people out there are in the same boat. The turning point for me came when I realized that if I wanted things to change, I had to change. That was a fundamental shift. It wasn't about my circumstances, my job, or even my income. It was about me. One evening, I met a man named Earl Shofaf. He was a businessman, a mentor, and someone who had achieved what I dreamed of achieving. And he looked at me and said, "Jim, if you want things to be different, you have to be different. Success isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become." And that hit me like a ton of bricks, Matt. I realized then that all my life I'd been focused on what I didn't have, on the obstacles around me. But Earl taught me to focus on what I could become, who I could become.
That's powerful, Jim. So in that moment, it sounds like you realized that rising above your circumstances wasn't about blaming external things, but instead looking within and finding a way to grow yourself. What were some of the specific changes you made?
Exactly, Matt. It was like someone turned on a light switch. I started asking myself better questions that put the responsibility back on me. Earl taught me that if I wanted to change my results, I had to change my actions, my thoughts, and my habits. So I began with small steps. I remember one of the first things he told me was to develop the habit of reading every day. At that time, I thought, reading? What does reading have to do with making money or getting out of debt? But Earl explained that the mind is like a garden. If you don't cultivate it, it will grow weeds. Reading books, learning from others, this was how I could start planting seeds of new ideas, new ways of thinking. Another thing Earl taught me was the power of setting goals. Up until then, I'd just been drifting, reacting to whatever life threw at me. But he helped me see that by setting clear goals, I could begin to steer my own ship, rather than letting the wind and waves decide my direction. I wrote down goals for my finances, my career, my health, and my relationships. I started small, but with each goal I achieved, I built confidence. That was another key to rising, building self-belief, brick by brick, by keeping promises to myself.
Jim, I think you're touching on something really profound. A lot of people might feel like they're at the mercy of life, but you're saying that rising starts with personal responsibility and small, consistent changes. How did you keep yourself going in those early days when the results weren't immediate?
That's a great question, Matt, and it's so important. You're right, the results didn't come overnight, but I kept going by focusing on the process, not just the outcome. I learned to find joy in the small wins. You see, too many people only feel successful when they hit the big goal. But life isn't just about those mountaintop moments. It's about the climb. I celebrated every small step, finishing a book, saving my first $100, improving my health. All these little victories started to add up, and eventually I looked back and realized that the small steps had taken me miles. And another thing that kept me going was gratitude. Earl taught me to be grateful for the progress, no matter how small, and to take stock of how far I'd come, rather than focusing on how far I still had to go. Gratitude became a cornerstone for me because it shifted my focus from what I lacked to what I was gaining day by day. And when you focus on growth, even if it's slow, you feel empowered rather than discouraged.
That's such valuable advice, Jim. So often we focus on the end goal and overlook the small wins that build us up along the way. It sounds like this mindset was what really helped you rise, especially during the tough times. So would you say that the foundation of rising is this combination of personal responsibility, setting small, achievable goals, and practicing gratitude?
Absolutely, Matt. Rising isn't about waiting for someone to rescue you or for life to suddenly get easier. It's about taking charge, making the small, sometimes difficult choices that move you forward, even if they don't pay off right away. And yes, gratitude is essential because it keeps your spirit strong. If you can look at where you are and appreciate the journey, even the hardships, you develop a resilience that nothing can shake. Adversity is a part of life. But when you shift your focus to the things you can control, you start to see every challenge as a stepping stone. You learn to ask yourself, what is this teaching me, rather than why is this happening to me? That shift in perspective is everything. It turns every obstacle into an opportunity to rise.
Jim, you're laying down such powerful foundations here. I love that idea that we're not at the mercy of our circumstances, but instead we can use those challenges to rise above them, to become something more. If there were one takeaway that you'd want our listeners to remember about rising, what would it be?
If I could leave one takeaway, Matt, it's this: every day we're given the chance to rise in some way, to face something within ourselves or in our circumstances that challenges us. Don't wait for a perfect moment or ideal conditions. Rising is about making the choice every single day to become a little better, to take one more step forward. Even if it's just one step, over time, that daily commitment builds momentum. That's how you rise, one small step at a time, fueled by belief, responsibility, and gratitude.
That's amazing, Jim. Thank you for sharing that. I think everyone listening can find something in your words that resonates with where they are right now. All right, let's dive a little deeper into that idea of thriving, what it means to go beyond rising, to reach a place where we're truly thriving, not just getting by. Jim, I think everyone listening can feel inspired by your story of rising above challenges, but I want to dig a little deeper into what it means to not just rise, but to thrive. Because there's a difference, right? A lot of people might think that success or survival alone means thriving. Could you tell us, in your own words, what it really means to thrive? And how does that go beyond simply rising or surviving?
Great question, Matt. And you're absolutely right. There's a big difference between surviving, even succeeding, and truly thriving. Thriving isn't just about getting by or even achieving goals. It's about finding fulfillment, about reaching a point in life where we're not only progressing, but also experiencing a deep sense of purpose and satisfaction along the way. To me, thriving means maximizing our potential. It means continually growing, continually evolving, and pushing ourselves to be the best we can be, not just for our own sake, but for the sake of others, for the impact we have on the world. When we thrive, we're contributing to something larger than ourselves. Thriving is about being connected, fulfilled, and able to find joy in the journey, not just the destination.
So, thriving isn't just about financial success or career milestones. It sounds like you're describing something more holistic, a life where all aspects, from personal growth to relationships to health, are in harmony and flourishing.
Exactly, Matt. Thriving is a balance. It's not limited to any single aspect of life. Think of it like a garden. A garden doesn't thrive because one flower is blooming. It thrives because there's diversity of growth and health in all the plants. When I think of a life that's thriving, I think about growth in every area: health, relationships, career, personal satisfaction, spiritual life, contribution. It's about cultivating a life that's rich and balanced. And here's the thing, thriving doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentionality. Many people achieve some level of success or comfort and they stop there. They think, I've made it, so now I can coast. But thriving means that instead of coasting, we're constantly seeking to grow, to learn, to contribute. It's an active process, not a passive one.
I love that analogy, Jim, the idea of a garden that's balanced, flourishing, and constantly tended to. So, how do we cultivate that garden, so to speak? What are some of the beliefs, habits, and practices that you think are essential for a thriving mindset?
Great question, Matt. I think there are a few foundational elements that support a thriving mindset, and they're accessible to anyone willing to put in the effort. Let me break them down for you. Commitment to personal excellence. Thriving starts with a commitment to be the best version of ourselves. This doesn't mean perfection, but it does mean consistently striving to do better, to improve. Excellence is a mindset, and it's something we bring into everything we do, whether it's in our work, our relationships, or even how we take care of ourselves physically and mentally. Personal excellence is about refusing to settle for mediocrity, to say I'm always going to give my best no matter what. Embracing lifelong learning. Thriving people are learners. They're constantly curious, constantly seeking to expand their knowledge and understanding. I read somewhere that the average CEO reads about 50 books a year. And why? Because learning keeps the mind sharp and it keeps us adaptable. When we stop learning, we stagnate, but if we keep challenging our minds, we grow our capacity. And that growth is key to thriving. A daily practice of gratitude. I mentioned gratitude before, but it's worth emphasizing because it's truly the foundation of a thriving life. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what we have. It's a daily reminder of the abundance around us. When we start each day with gratitude, we set a tone of positivity, and that creates resilience, optimism, and a sense of contentment. It keeps us grounded yet inspired. Clear, purposeful goals. Thriving isn't a vague feeling, it's directional. Goals give us that direction. But these aren't just goals about money or success. I'm talking about purpose-driven goals that connect to what we truly value in life. Goals that challenge us, stretch us, and give our efforts meaning. Thriving people don't just set random goals, they set goals that align with their purpose, that lead them toward their vision for their best life. Contribution beyond self. One of the most essential ingredients to thriving is contributing to something larger than ourselves. A lot of people think happiness is found in what we get, but true fulfillment comes from what we give. When we shift from focusing solely on our own achievements to asking, how can I make a difference for others? That's when we start to thrive on a deeper level. It's about impact, not just success.
Those are such powerful principles, Jim. I can see how each one of those elements contributes to a life that feels vibrant and fulfilling. But I think for a lot of people, it can be hard to balance all of these. They might be focused on their career goals, but their relationships might be suffering, or they're working hard on personal growth, but their health takes a backseat. Do you have any advice on how to bring balance to all these areas?
Balance is key, Matt, and you're right, it can be challenging. Life isn't about choosing between these areas, it's about integrating them. I like to think of it as a wheel with several spokes, each representing an area of life: health, relationships, career, personal growth, and so on. If one spoke is shorter than the others, the wheel won't turn smoothly. But when we give attention to each spoke, we start to create a life that's in harmony. One strategy I often recommend is to allocate focused time for each area. You don't have to do everything all at once. But if you set aside dedicated time each day or week for growth in different areas, you'll start to see balance emerge. For example, maybe you dedicate mornings to personal growth like reading or exercising and evenings to spending quality time with family. The key is consistency. Small, consistent actions create a balanced, thriving life over time.
So it's about being intentional and consistent, not waiting for the perfect time, but making those small daily investments in each area of life. Jim, you shared such incredible insights here. If you could sum up, what would you say is the one belief or mindset that truly drives a person to thrive?
If I could distill it all down to one belief, Matt, it would be this: life is a gift, and we have the responsibility to make the most of it. Thriving starts with gratitude for the life we have, and it's fueled by a commitment to maximize our time, our talents, and our impact. We get one shot at this life, and every day is an opportunity to grow, to contribute, and to experience the richness of what life has to offer. When we see life as a gift, we treat each moment as precious. We stop wasting time on things that don't serve us, and we start envying things that bring us fulfillment. Thriving isn't just a destination, it's a way of life, an attitude, a choice we make every day. It's about showing up fully, giving our best, and making each day count. That's the mindset that leads to a life of true abundance and joy.
Jim, thank you. I think that's a message we all need to hear. Life is a gift, and it's up to each of us to make the most of it. Thriving isn't something that just happens, it's something we create by being intentional, grateful, and purpose-driven. I know our listeners are going to take so much away from this. Let's take a deeper dive now into how we can start putting these principles into practice in our daily lives. Jim, we've touched on so many powerful concepts so far about rising above challenges and cultivating a thriving mindset. Now, I'd like to dive into something a little more structured, what you might call the pillars of personal development, the foundations, if you will, that provide the strength and support for this journey of growth. I think our listeners would benefit from hearing what core principles you believe are absolutely essential for anyone committed to improving themselves. Could you share with us what you consider to be the foundational pillars in personal development?
Absolutely, Matt, and that's a great question. Personal development is just that, personal. It's a journey unique to each individual, but there are some universal principles or pillars that provide the foundation for a successful, fulfilling life. Let's explore these, and hopefully they'll resonate with listeners looking to transform their lives. I'd say there are 4 key pillars that I consider non-negotiable. If you can build and maintain these pillars, you'll have the structure needed to thrive, no matter what challenges come your way. The pillars I emphasize are self-discipline, continuous learning, health and wellness, and goal setting. Each of these plays a critical role in supporting the others, and together, they create a solid foundation for growth and success.
Let's start with self-discipline. I know you've often described self-discipline as the key that unlocks all other areas of success. Why do you consider it so essential? And how can someone cultivate it if they feel it's an area of weakness?
Self-discipline is, in many ways, the backbone of personal development. It's the ability to control oneself, to follow through on intentions, and to make choices that align with long-term goals over immediate comfort. Without self-discipline, even the best laid plans fall apart because there's no follow-through, no consistency. I like to define self-discipline as simply the ability to give yourself a command and then follow it. It's knowing what you need to do and doing it, even when you don't feel like it. That might mean getting up early to exercise, resisting a temptation that doesn't align with your goals, or spending time learning instead of seeking instant gratification. It's those small daily choices that make the difference. Now, for those who struggle with self-discipline, the key is to start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with big commitments right out of the gate. Begin with one small area of your life where you want to improve. For example, if you want to read more, start by committing to just 5 minutes a day. Once that becomes a habit, increase it. Self-discipline, like any muscle, strengthens with use. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes to follow through on the bigger goals and decisions in life.
So, self-discipline is like building a muscle. It grows with consistency, and it doesn't have to be perfect from the beginning. Jim, do you find that there's a connection between self-discipline and confidence?
Absolutely, Matt. There's a very close connection. When we practice self-discipline, we start to trust ourselves. We build confidence because we're proving day by day that we're capable of following through. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce a positive belief in your own capability. And conversely, every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at that trust. Self-discipline allows you to keep that commitment to yourself and build a rock-solid confidence that translates into other areas of life. When you trust yourself to do what you say, you move through life with a kind of quiet assurance that others can see and feel.
That's powerful, Jim. Now, let's talk about the second pillar, continuous learning. You've often said that we should always be a student of life. Why is continuous learning so important? And how does it impact our growth?
Learning is the fuel for growth, Matt. In a world that's constantly changing, if we're not learning, we're falling behind. Continuous learning keeps us adaptable, keeps our minds sharp, and allows us to evolve with the world around us. Life is dynamic, and so are the challenges we face, so we need new skills, new perspectives, and fresh ideas. But more than that, learning keeps us humble. When we commit to being lifelong learners, we acknowledge that there's always more to know, more to improve, and more to explore. We stop seeing ourselves as experts and start seeing ourselves as students, which keeps us open and receptive to new information and growth. The beautiful thing about learning is that it doesn't have to be formal. Sure, books and courses are great, but life itself is a classroom. Every person you meet, every experience, and every challenge has a lesson if you're willing to look for it. When you commit to being a lifelong learner, you're always growing, and that growth is what allows you to thrive.
Jim, that's so encouraging to hear, because sometimes people think they need to go back to school or invest a lot of time and money to keep learning. But as you say, life itself is a classroom. Could you share some practical ways that people can start integrating continuous learning into their daily lives?
Absolutely, Matt. First, make reading a habit. Even if it's just 10 pages a day, reading allows you to tap into the thoughts and experiences of great minds. Think about it, minus 10 pages a day is over 3,500 pages a year. That's a wealth of knowledge. Another way is to seek out mentors and ask questions. I can't stress enough how valuable it is to learn from people who have already walked the path. Ask questions, listen, and absorb their wisdom. And of course, take time to reflect. Every day, ask yourself, what did I learn today? It might be something small, but it reinforces that learning mindset. And remember, learning doesn't end with knowing, it's about applying. Real growth happens when we take what we've learned and put it into action. That's when learning becomes part of who we are.
Jim, your next pillar is health and wellness. This is one that many people tend to overlook until they start experiencing burnout or other health issues. How does focusing on health and wellness fit into the personal development journey?
Matt, I often say that health is the foundation of all success. If we don't have the physical and mental energy to pursue our goals, everything else falls apart. Health isn't just the absence of illness, it's about energy, vitality, and well-being. When we take care of our bodies, we're able to perform at a higher level. We think more clearly, we have more stamina, and we're more resilient. In the same way that we exercise self-discipline in our work and personal goals, we need to apply that to our health. This includes eating well, getting regular exercise, managing stress, and getting enough sleep. These habits provide the fuel and the foundation for everything else we do.
It's true, Jim. Health really does affect everything. For listeners who might be struggling to incorporate healthy habits, do you have any advice on where to start?
Start with small, consistent changes. Health isn't an all-or-nothing game. Pick one thing, like drinking more water or taking a short walk each day, and stick with it. Once that becomes a habit, add another healthy practice. The goal is progress, not perfection. And remember, health isn't just physical. Mental and emotional well-being are just as important. Take time to relax, meditate, and practice gratitude. Health is a holistic concept, and when we nurture our entire well-being, we're able to face life with strength and resilience.
Jim, let's move on to the final pillar you mentioned, goal setting. You're known for saying that goals provide direction and motivation. Why are goals so essential, and how should people approach setting them?
Goals are like a compass, Matt. They give us direction and help us stay on course. Without goals, we're adrift. We might be busy, but we're not necessarily productive. Goals provide clarity and purpose, and they give us a reason to get up and take action each day. But it's important to set the right goals that are meaningful and aligned with our values. A goal should be something that excites you, challenges you, and makes you want to grow. When you have a clear goal, you have a clear destination, and every action becomes a step toward that vision.
So it's about setting goals that aren't achieving things, but about becoming the person you want to be?
Exactly, Matt. The real value of a goal is not what you achieve, but who you become in the process. Goals should stretch you, push you to grow, and make you reach beyond your comfort zone. And once you achieve one goal, set another. Keep that momentum of growth going. A simple but powerful framework is to start with long-term goals and then break them down into short-term, actionable steps. This keeps you motivated because you can see your progress as you go.
Thank you, Jim. Those are incredibly powerful pillars, and I think our listeners have a lot to take away from this. Self-discipline, continuous learning, focus on health and wellness, and goal setting. These are truly the foundation of a fulfilled life. Jim, we've covered some incredible ground so far, from building self-discipline to setting powerful goals. But I think there's one piece that we need to address for our listeners, and that's the challenges, the setbacks that come along the way. Let's be honest, no matter how prepared we are, how disciplined we are, or how carefully we plan, life has a way of throwing curveballs. There's no way around it. For so many people, challenges feel like roadblocks. They can completely derail the momentum, maybe even stop someone from trying again. One of the biggest challenges I see people struggle with, for instance, is fear of failure. Jim, how do you deal with challenges and setbacks, and what advice can you give our listeners who might feel defeated or afraid to take the next step?
Matt, you're absolutely right. Life has a knack for testing our resolve, doesn't it? And let me tell you, I've had my share of setbacks. I think anyone who's achieved something meaningful can tell you that challenges are a part of the journey. But here's the first thing I always remind myself and others: challenges are not a sign that you're on the wrong path. In fact, they're often a sign that you're pushing boundaries, that you're in uncharted territory, and that's where growth happens. Now, fear of failure is one of the most common challenges. It's something almost everyone faces at some point. The problem is that fear can become a cage, trapping us and keeping us from our full potential. But fear is only powerful if we let it dictate our actions. The key is to develop a different relationship with it. Instead of seeing fear as a sign to stop, we can learn to see it as a signal that there's something valuable on the other side.
So, Jim, you're saying that fear itself can be a kind of compass pointing us toward growth?
Exactly, Matt. Think about it. If there wasn't something valuable on the other side, we wouldn't fear it as much, right? Fear tends to show up when we're about to step into a bigger version of ourselves. And while it's uncomfortable, we have to remember that growth never happens in the comfort zone. But here's something else that helps reframe failure. I want people to hear this and understand it deeply. Failure isn't a reflection of your worth. It's just feedback. It's life's way of showing you that there's an adjustment that needs to be made. When we reframe failure as feedback, it loses some of its power. Instead of seeing it as the end, we start seeing it as a stepping stone.
That's powerful, Jim. So when you face a setback, rather than seeing it as a personal defeat, you see it as information that you can use to make adjustments and keep moving forward.
Precisely. I'll share a personal story, Matt, that might put this in perspective. Early in my career, I tried my hand at several different business ventures. Some were successful, but others, well, let's just say they didn't go as planned. One, in particular, was a real blow. I invested a lot of time, energy, and resources, only for it to fall apart. It would have been easy to let that failure define me, to say maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But instead, I took a step back and asked myself, what went wrong? What can I learn from this? It turned out that I was missing certain business fundamentals that I hadn't fully grasped. Rather than throwing in the towel, I made it a point to educate myself in those areas. I sought out mentors, read everything I could on business strategy, and treated that failure as a lesson. The business didn't succeed, but I did, Matt, because I grew from it. And that growth allowed me to apply what I'd learned in my future endeavors, which eventually led to my success. If I'd let that failure define me, if I'd let it be the end of my story, I wouldn't be sitting here today having this conversation with you.
That's such an inspiring story, Jim. I think it's reassuring for people to know that even someone as accomplished as you has had setbacks and failures along the way. It really underscores that challenges are part of the process, not a sign of defeat. Let's talk about some practical strategies for dealing with challenges. Jim, what are some ways that people can build resilience and keep moving forward when they encounter obstacles?
Great question, Matt. Here are a few strategies that have served me well over the years. Shift your perspective. When we face a challenge, our initial reaction is often emotional. We feel frustration, disappointment, even anger. And those feelings are valid, but we don't want them to cloud our judgment. Take a step back and look at the situation objectively. Ask yourself, what is this challenge trying to teach me? What is the lesson here? Embrace persistence. Sometimes the answer is to simply keep going. People often give up just before they're about to break through. Persistence doesn't mean doing the same thing over and over. It means continuing to pursue your goals while making adjustments. If one door closes, try another. Be willing to adapt, But don't lose sight of your vision. Take a long-term view. Challenges feel much bigger when we're up close to them, but if we can zoom out and see the bigger picture, we realize that setbacks are often small parts of a much larger journey. Remember that one challenge, one failure doesn't define you. Keep your focus on the long-term goals and let each challenge be a chapter, not the whole story. Build a support system. No one has to face challenges alone. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who encourage you to keep going. Having a support system can make all the difference because they remind you of your strengths when you're feeling weak. Practice gratitude. This may sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When we face challenges, it's easy to focus on what's going wrong. Practicing gratitude, even for the small things, helps shift our mindset. It allows us to see that, while we may be struggling in one area, there are still good things happening around us. That shift in focus can be a powerful motivator.
Jim, those are incredibly practical and actionable steps. I love the idea of taking a long-term view, especially because it's so easy to get caught up in the emotions of a setback and forget that it's just one part of the journey.
Matt, here's another story that might resonate with listeners. Back when I was young and still finding my way, I faced a lot of rejection. One of the lowest points was when I lost a major opportunity that I thought was going to be my big break. I felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. But instead of letting that be the end, I took some time to reflect on what went wrong. And I realized that I hadn't prepared enough. I had overlooked some details that, in hindsight, were critical. So I took that experience, learned from it, and it made me better. The next opportunity that came along, I was ready. I put in the work, the preparation, and I seized it. Looking back now, that rejection was one of the best things that happened to me because it taught me to never take preparation lightly. If we can reframe our setbacks in that way, as teachers rather than punishers, we can start to see them as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks.
It's inspiring, Jim, to see how you've used every challenge as an opportunity to grow. I think it gives hope to our listeners that no matter what obstacles they're facing, there's a way forward. It might take persistence, resilience, and a willingness to learn, but there's always a way forward.
That's exactly right, Matt. Challenges are inevitable. But here's the thing, you're stronger than you think you are. You have reserves of resilience and creativity that you may not have tapped into yet. Every time you overcome a challenge, you grow stronger and more capable. You develop confidence in yourself and your ability to handle whatever comes your way. And that's the essence of thriving, Matt, knowing that you can handle the ups and downs, that you can face life head on and come out stronger on the other side.
Thank you, Jim, for sharing your wisdom and experiences. I think it's safe to say that our listeners have a new perspective on challenges. Instead of fearing them, they can embrace them as part of the journey, as steps toward their own growth and success. Jim, this has been an incredible conversation, and I know our listeners have gained so much from your insights. We've talked about building resilience, creating a thriving mindset, and navigating challenges. Now, I'd like to look at something that's bigger than personal goals and achievements, a concept that I believe gives life a unique meaning, and that's legacy. Many people associate legacy with financial wealth or with fame, but I know you see it as something much deeper. Jim, how would you define leaving a legacy, and why do you think it's such a crucial part of personal growth?
Matt, you're right. Legacy is about far more than material wealth or recognition. It's about the impact you leave behind, the influence you have on others, and the values that live on through the lives you've touched. Legacy is the ultimate measure of a life well lived. It's the idea that true success isn't just about what we accumulate, but about what we contribute, how we make a difference in the lives of others. In my experience, people often begin their journey thinking about what they can get: financial security, personal achievements, recognition. And that's natural. We all have personal goals. But as we grow, there comes a point where we start asking ourselves, what am I giving back? How am I enriching the lives of others? That shift in mindset from what can I achieve to how can I serve is what makes a legacy possible.
So Jim, would you say that leaving a legacy is actually a key to fulfillment? That the journey from success to significance is part of living a truly rich life?
Absolutely, Matt. It's part of the journey. I often say that life is like a garden. We plant seeds, nurture them, and those seeds grow to become something greater than us. Each act of kindness, each piece of knowledge we pass on, each moment we spend helping others, these are the seeds we plant in our garden of legacy. And as those seeds grow, they don't just benefit us, they benefit everyone who comes into contact with them. When we start thinking about our lives in terms of what we can contribute, we begin to operate at a higher level. We start realizing that true success isn't about being the richest or the most famous person in the room, it's about making a positive impact. When we help others rise, we elevate ourselves too. And that's why I say that legacy is the hallmark of true success.
Jim, I know that mentoring is a big part of your own philosophy. You've spent decades sharing your wisdom, guiding others, and helping people achieve their potential. How do you see mentorship fitting into the idea of leaving a legacy?
Mentorship is one of the most powerful ways to create a lasting legacy. Matt, when we mentor others, we're not just imparting knowledge, we're transferring values, insights, and even life lessons that can impact someone for years to come. Think about it like this: when you mentor someone, you're essentially planting seeds that will continue to grow, even when you're not there to see them. Let me share a story that brings this idea to life. Early in my career, I was fortunate to have a mentor who helped me see the world differently. He taught me the value of discipline, the importance of planning, and the power of positive habits. Those lessons changed my life, and as I continued to grow, I felt a sense of duty to pass those lessons on to others. Because that's the power of mentorship. The influence doesn't stop with the person you mentor. They go on to mentor others, creating a ripple effect that can impact generations. So if you want to leave a legacy, start by sharing what you know. Help someone else rise. Whether it's through teaching, guiding, or just being there as a support, your influence will continue long after you're gone.
That's so profound, Jim. I think a lot of people assume that they need to be in a certain position or have reached a certain level of success to be a mentor. But from what you're saying, anyone can start making an impact right where they are.
Exactly, Matt. You don't have to wait until you've made it to start giving back. The beauty of mentorship is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need to be wealthy or famous. You just need a willingness to share, to uplift, and to guide. Sometimes the simplest acts of encouragement can make the biggest difference. And the incredible thing is that as you help others grow, you end up growing yourself. Each of us has unique experiences, lessons, and perspectives that can benefit someone else. That's part of the legacy, recognizing that your journey, your struggles, your insights can all be used to help someone else on their path. And when you do that, you're not just creating a legacy, you're creating a life of purpose.
I love that idea, Jim, that leaving a legacy isn't just about individual impact, but creating a ripple effect that touches many lives. How do you think our listeners can start doing that in their own lives? What advice would you give to someone who wants to make a positive impact but doesn't know where to start?
Good question, Matt. Making a positive impact doesn't have to be complicated. It starts with small, consistent action. Here are a few steps that I believe anyone can take to create that ripple effect. Live by example. The first and most powerful way to make an impact is by leading by example. People are inspired by what they see, not just by what they hear. If you want to create a positive impact, start by living the values you believe in. Be the kind of person you'd look up to. When people see integrity, kindness, and dedication in action, they're encouraged to bring those qualities into their own lives. Share your knowledge. Everyone has something valuable to share. Whether it's a lesson from a personal experience, a skill you've mastered, or even a story of resilience, share it. Knowledge, when shared, multiplies. And as you share, you're planting seeds that can lead to new ideas, opportunities, and growth in others. Encourage and lift others. Sometimes a simple word of encouragement is all someone needs to keep going. If you see someone struggling or doubting themselves, take a moment to lift them up. Remind them of their potential and encourage them to keep moving forward. You'd be surprised how much a small act of kindness can mean to someone. Be grateful and give back. Gratitude has a powerful way of changing our perspective. When we appreciate what we have, we become more willing to share it with others. Giving back doesn't always mean financial contributions. It can mean giving your time, your energy, your attention. Volunteer, support causes you care about, help someone who needs a hand. These acts create a legacy of kindness and compassion. Focus on relationships. At the end of the day, legacy is all about relationships. People won't remember us for the titles we held or the wealth we amassed. They'll remember us for how we treated them. Build genuine relationships, invest in people, and make others feel valued. That's the heart of a true legacy.
Jim, that's so inspiring. It really makes me think that leaving a legacy isn't something distant or unattainable. It's something we can all start building today with the people around us in the small but powerful ways we choose to show up.
You're absolutely right, Matt. Legacy isn't something that happens after we're gone. It's something we're building every day. Each decision we make, each person we help, each kindness we show is part of that legacy. And here's something important for our listeners to remember. Your legacy doesn't have to change the world to be meaningful. Sometimes the greatest impact we make is in the lives of those closest to us, our family, our friends, our community. Each act of kindness, each moment of support creates a ripple effect. And when those ripples spread, they touch lives we may never even see. So, to everyone listening, I encourage you to start thinking about your legacy not as a grand, distant goal, but as something you're creating each moment with each person you meet. Ask yourself, how can I make a positive difference today? And remember, it's the small things done consistently that create a legacy that will outlast us all.
Thank you, Jim. That's a beautiful and empowering perspective. I think you've given all of us a new way to think about success, one that goes beyond achievements and wealth to focus on lasting impact, on truly lifting others. I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom with us today.
It's been a pleasure, Matt. I truly believe that each of us has the power to make a difference. We just need to choose to use it. Remember, life is short, but the impact we leave can last far beyond us. Let's make it count.
Jim, as we approach the conclusion of our incredible conversation, I think it's vital to give our listeners some practical steps they can take right now. Many people feel overwhelmed by the idea of making significant changes in their lives, especially if they're starting from scratch. So, what practical advice would you give to someone who wants to begin this journey of personal growth and transformation today?
Great question, Matt. It's essential for anyone looking to rise and thrive to understand that real change doesn't happen overnight. It's about taking small, deliberate actions that align with your goals and values. Here are some practical steps I recommend for anyone looking to start their journey from the ground up. Number 1, start with small, consistent habits. First and foremost, focus on building small, consistent habits. This might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful strategies for long-term change. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire life in one go, start with small actions you can commit to daily. For example, if you want to get fit, start by committing to a short workout each day. Even just 10 minutes can be a great start. If you want to read more, set a goal of reading just a few pages every day. If you want to improve your finances, begin by tracking your expenses for a week. The key is consistency. When you make small changes every day, they add up over time. This principle is often referred to as the compound effect, the idea that consistent, small efforts lead to significant results. Number 2, reflect on daily activities. Next, make it a habit to reflect on your daily activities. At the end of each day, take a moment to assess how your actions aligned with your long-term goals. Ask yourself questions like, did I take steps today that brought me closer to my goals? What choices did I make that supported my growth? Where did I fall short? And what can I learn from that experience? This practice of reflection is powerful because it encourages self-awareness. It helps you identify patterns in your behavior, understand what's working, and pinpoint areas for improvement. It's essential to be honest with yourself. Growth happens when you're willing to evaluate your choices and adjust accordingly. Number 3, invest time in relationships and community. Thirdly, I can't stress enough the importance of investing time in your relationships and community. Personal growth isn't just an individual journey, it's enhanced by the people we surround ourselves with. Here's how you can do that. Make a list of the relationships that matter most to you: family, friends, mentors. Reach out to them regularly, make an effort to connect. Join community groups or organizations that align with your interests. This not only expands your network, but also enriches your life with shared experiences. Volunteer your time. Giving back to your community not only helps others, but also gives you a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Remember, relationships are a two-way street. The more you invest in others, the more you'll get back. As you nurture these connections, you create a supportive environment that will empower you on your journey. Number 4, prioritize physical and mental well-being. Finally, prioritize your physical and mental well-being. A healthy body and mind are fundamental to achieving any of your goals. Here are a few suggestions. Incorporate regular exercise into your routine. It doesn't have to be extreme. Even a daily walk can boost your energy and mood. Focus on your diet. Eating balanced meals will fuel your body and help you think more clearly. Make time for mental health practices such as meditation, journaling, or simply taking a few minutes to breathe deeply each day. Your well-being is the foundation upon which you build your life. When you feel good physically and mentally, everything else becomes easier. You have more energy, clarity, and resilience to tackle the challenges that come your way. Number 5, set clear, achievable goals. One more thing I'd like to add is the importance of setting clear, achievable goals. This gives you direction and motivation. Here's how to do it. Write down your long-term goals, but then break them down into smaller, actionable steps. Use the SMART criteria. Make sure your goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This clarity helps keep you focused and accountable. Remember, the journey of personal development is not about perfection, it's about progress. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your desired outcome.
Jim, those are fantastic, actionable steps that anyone can begin implementing today. It's so empowering to know that meaningful change doesn't have to be daunting or overwhelming. Small, consistent actions can lead to profound transformations over time. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add for our listeners who are ready to rise and thrive?
Absolutely, Matt. I want to leave your listeners with this thought. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start making changes. Life is full of uncertainties, and there will never be a perfect time to begin. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So start today. Take that first step. Whether it's developing a new habit, reaching out to someone for support, or prioritizing your well-being, every action counts. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Let today be that step. You have the power within you to create the life you desire, and it all starts with a commitment to rise and thrive.
Thank you so much, Jim. Your wisdom and insights are truly invaluable. I know our listeners are feeling inspired and ready to take action. Thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us today.
It's been a pleasure, Matt. Keep rising, keep thriving, and remember, your best days are ahead of you. We're now entering one of my favorite parts of the podcast, the QA segment. We've received some fantastic questions from our listeners, and I'm excited to share them with Jim. Remember, the goal here is to tackle some common challenges that many of us face on our journeys to rise and thrive. So let's jump right in. Here's our first question.
Our first question comes from Sarah in New York. She asks, I often feel overwhelmed by everything I have to do in a day. How can I improve my time management skills to fit everything in without burning out?
Time management, a common challenge for many. Sarah, first of all, let me say this: you can't manage time, you can only manage yourself. Time is a constant, but how we use it is entirely in our control. Here are some practical tips. Prioritize your tasks. Use a simple method like the Eisenhower matrix, where you categorize tasks into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. Focus on the tasks that are both urgent and important first. Set specific goals at the beginning of each week. List out what you want to accomplish. Break it down into daily tasks. Having a clear plan helps you stay focused and reduces that feeling of being overwhelmed. Limit distractions. Identify what commonly distracts you: social media, emails, or even certain environments, and try to minimize these interruptions during your work time. Consider using techniques like the Pomodoro technique, where you work in focused bursts followed by short breaks. Practice saying no. It's crucial to understand your limits. Don't take on more than you can handle. Saying no to certain commitments can free up valuable time for what truly matters. By managing yourself better, you'll find that you have more time to thrive.
Great advice, Jim. Our next question is from John in California. He says, I struggle with staying motivated, especially when facing setbacks. What can I do to maintain my motivation during tough times?
John, this is a common hurdle on the path to personal development. Let me tell you, motivation isn't something that just for practice. It's a practice you have to cultivate. Here are a few strategies. Connect with your why. Reflect on why you started this journey in the first place. What motivates you? Is it a desire for a better life, the need to provide for your family, or the aspiration to achieve something significant? Keep that why at the forefront of your mind. It can fuel your drive when times get tough. Set milestones. Break your larger goals into smaller, achievable milestones. Celebrate these small victories. Each time you hit a milestone, it will boost your confidence and reinvigorate your motivation. Surround yourself with positivity. The people you spend time with can greatly influence your mindset. Seek out those who uplift and inspire you. Engage with communities that share your goals and values. Their energy can be contagious. Develop a routine. Establish a daily routine that incorporates practices that energize and motivate you. Whether it's reading inspirational material, exercising, or engaging in creative activities, make time for things that reignite your passion. Embrace setbacks as learning opportunities. When you face challenges, don't see them as failures, but rather as lessons. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? This perspective can help maintain your motivation and keep you moving forward. Remember, motivation is like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Thank you, Jim. That's incredibly helpful. Our final question for today comes from Lisa in Texas. She asks, what are some practical steps I can take to achieve financial independence?
Lisa, financial independence is a noble goal and one that requires planning and discipline. Here are some steps to get you started. Educate yourself about finances. Knowledge is power when it comes to financial matters. Read books on personal finance, attend workshops, and seek out credible online resources. The more informed you are, the better decisions you can make. Create a budget. Start by tracking your income and expenses. A budget helps you see where your money is going and identifies areas where you can cut back. Aim to spend less than you earn. This is the foundation of financial independence. Build an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable. Having an emergency fund equivalent to 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses can provide a safety net and reduce financial stress. Invest wisely. Don't just save money, make your money work for you. Consider investing in stocks, bonds, or real estate. Start small if you have to, but prioritize long-term growth. Remember, the earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow. Avoid unnecessary debt. Debt can be a significant obstacle to financial freedom. Be mindful of how you use credit cards, loans, and other forms of credit. If you do take on debt, have a clear repayment plan in place. Develop multiple income streams. Explore opportunities for side gigs or passive income streams. This could be anything from freelancing, investing in rental properties, or creating digital products. Multiple income sources can help you achieve financial stability faster. By taking these steps and being disciplined with your finances, you can work towards achieving financial independence. Remember, it's not about how much you make, but how much you keep and grow.
Jim, thank you for tackling these questions with such depth and clarity. It's amazing how relatable and practical your advice is. I'm sure our listeners are walking away with a wealth of knowledge to help them tackle their challenges. Let's take this wisdom into our everyday lives and remember, rising and thriving is a journey, and every small step counts. Wow, what an incredible conversation we've had today. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Jim Rohn for joining us and sharing such invaluable insights into the principles of rising and thriving. Your wisdom is truly a gift, Jim. As we wrap up, I'd love to ask if you have any parting advice for our listeners. What's one powerful takeaway you want them to remember as they continue on their journey?
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity to share this time with you and your listeners. If I could leave everyone with one powerful thought, it would be this: believe in your ability to change your life. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by circumstances or to believe that the odds are stacked against you. But I want to remind you that your mindset is your most powerful tool. The moment you decide to take control of your thoughts and actions, you begin the process of rising above your circumstances. Here are a few reminders to carry with you. Take responsibility. Life will throw challenges your way. This is a guarantee. But remember, how you respond to these challenges is entirely up to you. Own your choices and recognize that you have the power to change your path. Embrace change. Growth often requires stepping out of your comfort zone. Don't shy away from change. Instead, welcome it as an opportunity for growth. Change is where the magic happens, where we find our true potential. Stay committed. Success doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of consistent effort and commitment to your goals. Keep showing up, even when things get tough. Your perseverance will pay off. Surround yourself with positivity. Remember the importance of your environment. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, challenge you, and inspire you. Positive influences can propel you to greater heights. Give back. Finally, never forget the power of giving back. The more you share your knowledge and resources with others, the more you enrich your own life. Legacy isn't just about what you achieve, it's about how you impact those around you. As you go forward, believe that you have the capacity to rise and thrive. You are capable of achieving extraordinary things if you harness the right mindset and remain persistent in your efforts. You've got this.
Thank you, Jim, for those powerful closing thoughts. It's been a truly inspiring conversation filled with actionable insights that I believe our listeners can implement right away. To recap some key takeaways. Rise above adversity. Life will challenge you, but it's how you respond that defines your path. Embrace challenges as stepping stones to growth. Cultivate a thriving mindset. Focus on personal excellence and develop habits that maximize your potential. Build a strong foundation. The pillars of personal development, self-discipline, continuous learning, health, and goal setting are essential for sustained growth. Face challenges head on. View obstacles as opportunities to learn and grow. Resilience is key. Leave a lasting legacy. Consider how you can impact others positively and build a legacy that goes beyond personal achievements. I encourage everyone listening to take action today. Choose one principle from our discussion and implement it in your life. Remember, every journey begins with a single step, and your decision to rise and thrive starts now. Thank you all for joining us on this journey today. If you found this episode valuable, please share with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe for more empowering content. Until next time, keep rising and thriving.